the Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and we're going to get on with part 2 of improving my horror freight bandsaw, and we're going to get right into using the Tapmatic. But I'll show you what I've been doing sort of when I was sitting around here watching videos. I printed out some drag chain for the plasma table, and I printed out a bunch of these little cover parts, but I guess I miscounted them, because I come down to this end here, right down to, well, I got most of them on there, but here we go. I knew I had a blank spot. There's got this spot right here where I miscounted, and I don't have enough of them, so that'll have to be redone. I'm hoping the drag chain is strong enough. I didn't print it with a real high density, but what the hey, it does like a drag chain, and it rolls around and all that, so it'll do the job, I think, if it don't break. Alright, let's get on with finishing up our improvement on the horror freight bandsaw. Tapmatic uses collets to hold on to things. This is the larger collet. We're using stuff up in the 5/8 inch range. This is one of the nicer ones, because it'll do from M5, which is smaller than a 1024, up to 5/8, and it uses a smaller collet than this for the smaller sizes, and this larger one for the larger. Now when you look up into this hole here on the Tapmatic, you can see the square on the top of the tap, and you've got a little clamp here that goes across. You just tighten it down with your Allen wrench, and then you have to tighten that collet, and I've got a couple of wrenches for that I made out here one day, and they're pretty primitive. I could do a much better job now that I've done it once. It always seems to be the case. I do it once really sloppy, and the next time if I do it again, I do a pretty good job on it. Alright, so there we are. That's got it fastened down in the Tapmatic. The Tapmatic, I've raised this thing up as far as it would go, the head, because this thing's so big. Now if I had anything longer tap, I'd have to take this vise and get it off of this circular base at the very least, if not take the vise completely off and mount my stuff on the table. I did that. I mounted right on the table here before when I was doing my mini pallet work, making mini pallets. So now I've got to get this thing lined up on these holes, and while I do that, you just take a little electronic nap. Okay, so there's the setup. I've got the head realigned and then a few thousandths. This guy will accept a little bit of misalignment, and I've got this little guy here chained to the column so that it won't take off on me. This is what holds the clutch or something whenever you hit the limit. The tension here is already set. This is the ring you set the tension with. It's already set for 1/4 because that's the main thing I've used with it. Probably the only size I've used with it. And you can run this thing above 1,000 RPM on 1/4, they say. And you can, run a lot of holes really quick. And you don't have to start and stop the machine. I'll go down, and when I'm through the hole, I come back up, and it reverses and unscrews the tap. I move to the next hole and run it down through there, and the tap will suck the thing down, and when it's far enough, it'll reverse itself, and I'm sure bringing her back out. So I guess the only way to handle that is just to show it in action. Alright, so hopefully I won't get in the way of the camera. Maybe I should move the camera around to the other side. Alright, you can see the business end of everything there. And I'm not putting any kind of lubricant on this because this is cast iron. So let's see how we do. And I'm handling it up and down myself by hand. That's all the way through. Now all I got to do is move it to the next one. It was all the way through the first time. I just do a little bit chicken. Alright. Not bad, huh? There we go. Neat. You can do a lot of holes with this thing in no time at all. And there you are. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 holes threaded way faster, straighter, and better than I could have done it by hand. Alright, so now we've got the holes to put clamps on. This is a sort of a further advancement of making this thing better. And I'll show you my other idea later once I've got this put back together. But there's a lot of ways that you can make this little guy fit pieces of metal that it otherwise wouldn't hold. I got to screw it back down and square the back jaw up with the blade so you guys can sleep through that boring part. Alright, so here's an example of, say, putting a clamp on there and clamping something down. And it's probably not a practical example, mind you. It's just an example, just to show how you can hold things onto there with a clamp. So I've got a checkerator on the other jaw. I got this on this jaw. And I think that that's an improvement in the way things work. And I've also got another little method that you can set up to help yourself with this thing. I'll be right back with it. Now what I have here is just a common 1/4 20 bolt with a nut. And just in case you have some really tiny little something, you've got to suspend way out here. This little 1/4 20 bolt can help you have the right reach to do the job. Move that out of the way. Alright. Now this is probably extreme. I doubt seriously that I would try to cut anything that small, you know, out there on the end of the bandsaw. But let me get the zoom down here where you can see what we're talking about. Let me back it up a little bit. Anyway, you put the bolt over here. Back the ends up a little. Put your bolt over here on this end. Couple pieces of metal in there to reach out as new jaws, and you can clamp the thing down. I used this the other day to cut this little piece off of something else, so I know it works. And what would be just as useful is if you got one of those long nuts, you know, threaded all the way through, and put it onto a small bolt, you'd have a lot of adjustment to use over here, and that would probably come in really handy. Alright, so let's see if Bubba's doing anything, because that's it for today. I just realized that I lied to you guys about the capacity of this thing. This thing goes from number 10 to 3/4 inch. It doesn't stop at the 5/8. Or it will go from an M5 to an M18. It's an R7 Tapmatic. Most wonderful thing ever invented, maybe. Bubba's got this little old place, you know, a few miles out of town down by the river. He's got a garden out there in the back, and a big old tree right in the middle of it kept messing up his garden, you know. It's putting too much shade on his tomatoes and stuff. So he went and cut the tree down, but it left a great big old stump out there in the middle of his garden, and he trying to figure out how to get rid of it. Well, come to find out, his neighbor had a son that had just graduated from engineering school, and he had specialized in demolition. So Bubba, you know, hired the boy to come over there and get rid of that stump. So the boy come over, and he looked it all over and wrote down all the sizes and measurements of it, and went home and did several days of calculations, and he come back and he set his explosives all around and in and under the stump and wherever they needed to be. And you know, and this is his first job. He wanted it to go really good. So he hit the detonator and kaboom, that stump come flying up out of the ground and made a nice arc over in the air and landed right on the cab of that boy's pickup truck. Oh, he was all fit to be tied. He knew Bubba was going to, you know, tell everybody how he had messed up his first job and all that stuff. He was disappointed and all. But Bubba come over there, and he was just happy as he could be. He says, boy, he says, that's the best job of stump removal I ever seen. He says, you're really getting into it. He says, once you got a little more practice, he says, you'll be able to land those stumps right in the back in the pickup truck bed. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.